Last time, on Asmiliath adventures, our noble party begin their trudge through the swamps of Liamus, being led by the vocal and energetic Ganon Taller as the final days of January tick by. Practically cutting a straight line through the alien environment, Ganon pokes the party about their intentions with Ziggurat, attempting to offer up some of his own hidden information in return. Eventually, after some nudging, the party reveals what they are after and why, seemingly gaining a bit of respect from the ragged explorer before he reveals his secret. From his adventures into the deep, he has witnessed the native people making sacrifices to an enormous dragon-head-shaped statue near the center of the swamp, only producing the details of seeing the natives leaving their elderly at the mouth of the stone beast before smaller creatures come from its depths and take the offer inside. Assuming this was the location the party was after, Ganon refocuses our heroes towards the Hydra they had promised to take down, finishing up the last leg of their travels to the beast's stomping grounds. After devising a plan to lure it out with bait, our valiant heroes maneuver around the many-headed beast to keep it distracted before Ganon lands a decisive blow. With the Hydra now slayed and their half of the deal held up, the Golden Hearts are finally guided to the heart of our swamp, disappearing into the thick fog of the deep. It is February 2nd, as our party clamber up a steep slope, getting a view of a strangely clear section of the terrain that reveals a gigantic stone dragon skull they had been informed about. As all noises of nature rest eerily silent, and the distant sun attempts to cut through the canopy of fog, Ganon takes in a deep breath and turns to address our heroes. So as you all are kind of on this strangely steep slope, looking down into the very wide basin in the center of this swamp, again, the very, tall and sloping dome that seems to come from the top of the giant willow tree and then come down around you, clearing out the dense fog you've been traveling through the past day or so. Ganon kind of looks over at you all, doing a little back and forth, and then looking down into the valley. Well, that's the dragon skull you've been looking for. My half of the bargain is done. All right.
You haven't gone any closer.
Well, last time I was here, they were putting some old little, women, I guess you could call them, up on the mouth. I watched for a few days, eventually things came out, grabbed her up, took her inside, and I was like, probably not the best place to be.
What kind of things?
Looked a bit like lizards. Fair distance though, so I wouldn't be too precise.
Right, well, should we go down? Are we taking him with us? I don't know. I don't really remember what our original agreement was, but I know he was just supposed to lead us here.
Yes, I do appreciate your help, but I believe we had contracted you for an encounter with Cigarette of the Night. We're not even sure this is it. It's a rock.
Very true. But I have the divine thought of going in there is probably not the best thing for me, so I think staying right here is going to work out just fine.
Fighting a Hydra wasn't perfect for our health either, but we did it.
He kind of looks you all over one more time and then kind of lowers his energy a bit. Friend, I don't know what speaks to me in this place, but as soon as we step into this sanctuary, let's call it for lack of a better term, I can't help but shake the feeling that going in there is certain death, and I enjoy living.
So you're stepping out on your half of the bargain.
I don't seem to recall signing up to die.
Neither did we. On the positive note, should we not die, there's probably quite a bit of treasure there. And your name, such as it's worth, would increase in value 100-fold. I mean, do you really want to live forever? Or would you just prefer to slink back as a... No, you know what? I won't call you a coward. Many men would shrink from this.
He kind of gets like a little smirk at your somewhat underhanded persuasion attempt. But he'll look you all over again, kind of looking at Valoran for just a few more seconds than the rest. How about we're not in any rush, are we? Take a quick break, quick little powwow here. I imagine we might want to at least sleep before marching into the jaws of death. Let's do some recon, some looking, some watching, some discussing, and then we'll see if Ganontolov's going in there.
What time of day is it that we've got here?
It's kind of hard to tell due to the fact that the sun is this kind of blurry, distant ball in the sky, but you would hazard a guess that it's maybe just after noon, if not noon itself, in that ballpark. So.
You said you were here for 2 days and you didn't, like, did you only see the lizard people come out in 2 days?
Well, when I first sat here, they came out on their little boats and brought the elderly woman to the cave. There was some chanting, some singing, some dancing, and then they left that night, and I sat there watching, and she just sat there perfectly still as the stone statue that she was sat in front of. And then sometime the next night, the little lizard men came out, brought her in. Not a scream, not a shout, no struggle, just gone.
So what good would doing some recon do if, nothing really happens in a day?
Information's never a bad thing.
I feel like we already have information.
Then by all means, lead the way.
No, I don't see what a day worth of reconning and observing would hurt. We're here.
Caspian, don't you, have that owl?
Yes. But, and I would gesture towards the fog.
Well, couldn't you have a hop down in there and get a little looky-loo?
As you wish. Thunk. And I'll have her start doing a slow circle around it.
Okay, go ahead, give me perception with advantage. So you guys still have Clara and Lavelle and Caravan Number A following you all at this point as well. Which again, they all just kind of function in the background, waiting for any sort of, ping from the party, more or less. Okay. So they're also here, just to keep you all aware of who is here and who is not. But Decker, as you, I guess, plant yourself inside of Aurora, looking through her eyes, and begin kind of doing a lazy, slow, spiraling circle closer to the dragon head, you begin to feel, like, the immensity of just how large this thing is, right? Like, the skull itself is kind of tilted backwards with the mouth opened up wide like this. The long, jagged, like, I guess, slowly sloping teeth are probably about twice your height as you were getting closer and closer with Aurora. And again, as the bottom of the mouth has almost kind of become one with the earth, the like moss and the water from the swamp kind of rolling slowly down into whatever the black depths of the mouth lead to. You see that green trail of almost like lime green liquid kind of drooling from maybe the sides of the mouth down to the bottom and then out between the teeth, then into the swamp water nearby. It's clear that it's like mixing in with the water and kind of diluting the farther out you get. But as Aurora eventually gets to, I guess, the entrance to the mouth, and I imagine, maybe perch and looks down, or what exactly is she doing to recon the interior of the statue?
I mean, just I kind of will just do tighter circles as she gets closer. If there's anything that looks dangerous, I don't want her to get too close to it. But if it's safe enough to fly into the mouth, from my perception, from what I see, then I'll probably have her take a peek.
Okay. As you get more eye level with the back of this mouth or this statue, kind of peering down into the darkness, and Aurora does have dark vision, which helps aid a little bit of discerning what's down in the bottom. It appears to be perhaps a hand-carved, like, circular tunnel kind of descending down from the mouth into the earth. And there's various amounts of, vines and moss and vegetation kind of grown up along the side of the wall. There's a small stream of water kind of trailing down the bottom of it. But maybe about 30 or 40 feet into the depths of this, cavern or tunnel that you're looking down, you would see two very small green specks. And after kind of focusing in on them ever so slightly, you see them blink and then realize that it is a pair of eyes kind of staring out at Aurora from about, 50 feet down into this dark cave.
And dark vision is 60 feet?
Yeah. So it's kind of like hovering on the edge of her, clarity.
Take her forward another 10 feet, see if I could see any sort of shape to this thing.
Okay. So just coming a little bit closer to the cave, and at this point, probably like the top half of this statue is kind of hovering over her as she's just kind of very quickly swooping into the open mouth. But as you get a little bit closer, you begin to hear like the distant echoes of movement coming from deeper inside. But getting the dark vision perception just a little bit further, you are able to discern what appears to look like a hunched over lizard humanoid. It's kind of a weird mixture. It almost appears as like a kobold might be a familiar shape to this thing. But instead of standing bipedal, it's almost kind of like in a monkey or an ape kind of pose, like leaning on its fist. It has this long, thin fin trailing down its spine. It has the very bright, glowing green eyes, and its tongue is kind of lolling out of one side with a bit of that green lime liquid that you saw spewing from the mouth kind of slowly dripping off the tip of his tongue, and it's just eyeing Aurora very still. It's kind of almost pressed up against the wall, just watching the owl swoop in, its eyes kind of trailing along with her movement.
That's enough. Bring it out and relay what I've seen so far.
Okay.
And then a circuit around there's nothing behind the statue.
Yeah, so as far as like the broader scope of this kind of dome area that you guys have found yourself in, the head takes up the majority of the center, and then the radius or the perimeter of the bubble is kind of met with a bit of raised ground. So the actual head itself is set into this like large bowl, and then it's tilted backwards so that there's like a grassy slope kind of growing up the back of its head, kind of stopping right at the top, where the willow tree then takes over with its roots kind of sprawling down around all its features as it towers up into the sky, its branches kind of drooping down with these long green tendrils. That's the general landscape. And then there's a few, like sunken points along the edge of the bubble where like bits of stream from the swamp kind of trail in, or there's like underground springs that like crop up here and there. But it's not a huge space to work with, mainly due to the fact of how much space is taken up by the skull in the center.
Okay.
And how far away are we currently from
So
that?
the entire bubble is about a mile long, give or take. So to the center of the skull, you're about a half mile, but to like the edge of it, because of how large it is, you're maybe like a quarter of a mile, like not that far.
Okay. Would any of us be able to like notice after Aurora flew out? Does anything follow, or no?
No. After if you wait 5-10 minutes, half an hour or so, nothing would come out.
Okay.
There are, like, birds and whatnot that you could see, you know, like, flying through the tree branches or, like, hopping from a bush to another, like, small rodents and things of that nature, but you wouldn't see anything, I guess, alarming, like coming in and out of the cave or the mouth or anything of that nature.
Right, well, let's set up a good stakeout point. That's what we're doing. I'm gonna look for a good place to, I guess, kind of hide.
Okay. There isn't any other, like, large trees or foliage to kind of hide in for the perimeter. The best thing that you'd probably have, excuse me, is where the bubble kind of meets the crest of the slope that you're on, kind of hiding on the opposite side of the slope and just peering over it at the basin is probably the best way to hide yourself from the center. So,
I guess I would suggest that. Are we just, camping out for the day and then sleeping and going in the morning? That's our plan.
Thor, yes?
It is Thor, yes.
Can I call you Two Cows? It has a better ring to it.
It doesn't, but it makes you happy.
Alright, Two Cows. What's the plan once we get in there? I know that you're looking for this artifact, you're looking for this magical item, this limb. You're just gonna charge ahead, swinging your sword, cutting things out, just going in, no matter what's in there?
I kind of think it entirely depends on what's in there, what our plan is. I mean, if there's something that comes to fight us, I mean, I'm not just gonna try to civilly reason with it. But, if we do find a giant dragon in there, I may try to reason with that, considering I don't think I could kill it by myself.
Alright. Anyone know any good campfire stories?
You wanted us to stake this place out while you decide whether or not you're coming inside. What information are you waiting for to make that determination?
I'm moderately concerned about how I've witnessed you all dealing with problems that crop up. So I just wanted to see what the general idea was going in, and it seems like there really isn't an idea except just going and seeing what happens, and that kind of puts me on edge a little bit.
Well, I mean, we don't know what's in there. How are we supposed to know how to react? Do you know what's in there?
Maybe we could train a rat and send the rat in there, see if he comes back out.
All right. Are you going to remain here at least for some time to guide us back when we come out?
I could do that. I'm also somewhat concerned about your own safety, and Lord Valoran, we did discuss earlier that I want to make sure that the swamp stays the way it is, and that no one messes with the fragile ecosystem that it is. So I'm just hesitantly reminding you not to go in there and blow anything up.
We're here for the peace, not for any other purpose. I have no desire to disturb the ecosystem.
It's quite noble of you, but truly, our aims go far beyond the well-being of this swamp, one way or the other.
Well, you gonna be bringing in your whole merry band, or just a few of you, or a company while I'm waiting, or what's the plan?
Well, we'll be bringing one less Ganon taller than we expected to be bringing with us. That's known.
If there's gonna be a stick up your ass, I can come with you, Caspian. I'm just concerned.
I just am concerned that you gave your word and now you've rescinded it.
Don't think
My
I ever
spirit-
agreed to fighting Ziggurat of the Night, or marching into what might potentially be his shrine.
The implication was certainly there. We agreed to fight your Hydra.
And I
We
agreed
told
to
you-
lead you here.
Oh, whatever.
You agreed to lead us to Ziggurat. I don't see him. Or her.
Wouldn't want to be a bigot. Alright. We'll put the issue to bed. I'll come in with you, if it makes you feel better.
Really, your word that's not at stake, not mine. Look, if this thing's going to kill us, it'll do so with or without you. If we're going to beat it, we can probably also do that with or without you. The decision's yours, Ganon. You have led us here, and for that I thank you.
Little appreciation can go quite a long way. But alright, I'll go in with you. I think that scouting it out might be ideal. We'll stick with that. Again, my question stands. Are we bringing in the little delicate flowers that you dragged in here, or are they staying out here?
We're safest together, I believe.
Yes, one of those delicate flowers has the ability to bring you back from the dead. Would you... What will you do?
Alright, you seem to be a cheery bunch today. I'm gonna go get a little bit closer.
Ganon,
Let's
I've
stay
gone God hell knows how many days without boots on my feet. I'm absolutely filthy. I stink. I haven't had a proper meal in days. Yes, I'm fucking cranky.
Alright. And he just kind of like walks over the little crest of the hill and begins kind of casually going down towards the basin.
I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm feeling a bit out of sorts today.
Oh wait, I want to see where this goes, and I'm gonna go after him.
Okay.
Valoran, what do you think of what we saw in there? Some...
Do I know anything about kobolds, or do we have...
The general thing I will give you is there is a vast variety of kobolds, right? Like, kobolds are more of a genre than like a thing, right? There are ones that live up in the mountains, and there are ones that, follow certain dragons that also change their appearance and their abilities, and also a fair bit of their intellect as well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that these things are just a cousin or a relative or a variation of the kobold that you do know, just, I guess, adapted to the swamp more, or the thing that it follows.
Perhaps we don't start any fights, but we'll be ready all the same.
I wonder if there's a way to trick or talk our way out of this one. I believe Ganon's actually right. Fighting a dragon, I think, is a bit beyond us.
If there is a dragon.
It's true.
So,
And Valoran's gonna start walking down the same way as Ganon.
okay. Decker, are you joining them, I'm assuming, or are you staying up on the slope?
Certainly.
So, Thor, as you follow closely behind Ganon, leaving Valorant and Decker to have their small conversation, he'd kind of like casually talk back to you as he's walking. Two Cows, what do you think the odds are that Ziggurat has never been spotted by another living human being or living soul. That we march in there, and as soon as we, I don't know, get into the cave and find some big old cavern, Ziggurat's right there. What are the chances of that, you would imagine?
You know, I've contemplated this a little bit. You know, what are the chances that a giant, super old, quote, timeless dragon lives in this cave and never comes out? And nobody's ever spotted him. It seems very unlikely. But I still, it doesn't really matter if the dragon exists. It's more of the piece we're after. It's just we were told there was a super dragon here. So, it doesn't really matter either way.
My quick thought, it's a rather modest thought. The individuals that called this swamp home and sacrificed their elderly to this thing, there's probably a reason that they're not going down in there. We could go march back to them, ask them a fair few questions, see what might be ahead of us. It would take some time, and I know that your pretty boy is a little bit upset and doesn't want to spend any more time in this gorgeous scenery.
Why didn't we ask him when we came in?
I didn't really trust you all then. You hadn't told me what you were here for.
Well, maybe. They just made up Ziggurat, and it's just designed to keep people out of something.
You would think if there was a higher power dictating all the things that happen to us, which I believe there might be, you really think that he would build up this massive myth, this rumor of Ziggurat of the Night, this imposing dragon that rules the swamp just to have a facade when we walk in the door?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what would happen. I mean, who would volunteer to journey across a giant swamp in the middle of, you know, dense fog and then suddenly come upon a giant dragon mouth and think, yeah, definitely not the dragon down there. Pretty good wall. Maybe there's just some tiny gnome that just runs it all, and he's like 600, and he's just sitting there with his little, you know, I don't know, maybe he's twiddling his thumbs, just laughing.
Gannon gets a good chuckle out of that, but at this point you now are maybe about 100 feet or so from, I guess, like the first tooth of this massive open mouth, where you can actually now, from your position, see down into this quickly darkening hole at the back of the statue. And he just kind of like tilts his head back, tries to like peer down there. He's like, green eyes are gone. That's a little concerning, but doesn't exactly smell good either. Give me a quick perception check. I guess all of you, if you're all loosely kind of following behind.
Jarek would not be.
Good God.
I'm not fucking going down.
Thor, what are you talking about? Alright, Decker, thank God you're here. So as the group grows closer, and, you know, Decker, you've kind of finished your conversation with Valorant, and you're kind of giving the general area a glance with your own eyes and not Aurora's, something that you quickly pick up on is this kind of like stinging sensation in your nose. It's almost like if you were smelling like a really intense chemically smell, almost like fresh paint, something of that nature. And you kind of like do a little sniff and do a little bit of like glancing around. And as you focus in on that green goo liquid that's kind of trailing out of the side of the mouth, you see small bits of bone, animals, various small things like the head of a rat or something, very slowly kind of trailing down the, I guess, the flowing pattern of it. And as you focus in, you're like, you can smell that this green goo gives off this very noticeably alarming smell, sensation.
If I spit in it, am I close enough to spit in it?
Yeah, so you're kind of right, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 10 feet away from like where the edges of it are kind of diluting into the water, where it's becoming more of like a little mist mixed in with the clearer liquid. So you could probably lob a dollop of spit over to where it's like concentrated.
Anything happen?
So as you see your saliva hit the surface, you just hear this small, and it kind of like trails off.
Excuse me, fellows. Believe that's acid, at the very least. Probably poisonous to breathe in.
This cave just gets more and more welcoming the closer we get.
Do what you will, but I don't think I'm going to go any further towards it. Breathing more of it in.
Pick up on this now, or am I
Yeah,
just
I mean, like,
ignorant?
the general idea is, like, when someone else points it out to the point of, like, explaining it, you guys can kind of freely get that same perception.
Interesting. And it's just like a river, kind of, like, going down the sides of it.
So, there is, like, a stone tongue that's kind of, like, covered up by a lot of, like, moss and water and whatnot that's kind of embedded into the earth. And I guess where, like, the edge of the lip kind of, like, meets the ground around it, where some of the water is kind of, like, trailing down into the mouth, there is the green goo kind of trailing from the side walls of the open mouth that then kind of, like, finds its way through a crack in the teeth and then, like, mixes in with the water and either, like, flows out to the water around it or back into the cave itself and then down into the darkness.
Interesting. Can I try to see, like, where the source is coming from? Is it just, like, coming from the rock, or?
Seems, because this is such a massive structure, just the look inside, like, the side of the mouth, it's almost, like, completely dark in there already. So you need some sort of light source to kind of discern more.
Is there Are we close enough that I can get a good look now at whatever the nearest part of this statue head is, like, to verify that it is actually stone or it's not actually a giant skull?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what would you give me, like, an investigation check? What's the process that you want to do?
I guess whatever the nearest piece is, I'll actually just walk up to it and just get a close look at it. Maybe tap on it.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and give me an investigation real quick. Solid. As you approach it and kind of get closer, and it is clear that whatever this is, it has been here for an incredibly long period of time, to the point where this massive willow tree has grown on its head, and you would assume that's hundreds of years old, potentially. So there is a thick layer of, dirt and foliage and vegetation just from the general environment of the swamp that's kind of overtaken at least the fringe of the statue. So after, like, going up and kind of, like, scraping away a bunch of moss, kind of digging down to the surface of it, you would eventually be met with what you would describe as stone. It appears to have a stony texture. You tap on it, it feels solid like stone. There's no give or movement. Like, that's what you're basically met with.
I kind of look back over my shoulder at the group and then nod and then keep walking. And I'll reach out with Divine Sense as I go.
Okay. Divine Sense is what? Fiends, undead, and something else?
Celestials, fiends, undead. Also desecration or hollowing. 60 feet that is not behind total cover.
Okay. So, Valorant, as you take the lead and begin, I guess, just trudging into the mouth, you're again barefoot, correct? You've not redonned your boots.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Everyone else, what are you doing? Are you following the lead, seeing what happens? What's the plan?
Watching him go towards what I assume is something very bad for him.
Thor would follow him, but can Jarek still see them, or is it like are they too far in?
Oh yeah, you can still see them. I mean, you have like from where the mouse starts to where it gets too dark to see, it's probably like 60 feet, 80 feet. So you have to trudge through a lot of like open space before you even kind of get to the descending part. But you'd still be able to see them as they're like going down into the darkness.
Gotcha. Then I think if Jarek saw them like just walking into it, he'd just be like, "Ah, son of a bitch," and then he'd start waddling.
So Valoran, as you are reaching out with Divine Sense, the way that I always kind of, I guess, visualize these things or understand these things is it's almost like some sort of magical or divine sonar, right? Like you have this signal you're sending out and then you get some sort of signal back based on what's around you. So there's like a baseline frequency, for lack of a better term. As you're stepping forward, reaching out with that sense to just kind of, get any sort of warning of what might be coming your way, as your first foot goes over the edge of, I guess, like the lip of this statue, you feel that sense just completely cut off. It just goes silent to the point where like the general humming of your ears is louder than any other magical energy that you were reaching out with. And it kind of like jars you ever so slightly. It's just the very, immediate effect. But once you step in fully, it seems that your divine sense just doesn't work.
If I speak the command word from my glaive, did the flames light?
Nothing happens.
Also, I was gonna say like Jarek would have the telescope out, just like looking at the whole thing, like the tree, the mouth, and everything.
So Thor, after you are stepping in after Valoran, I'm assuming you're holding your pickaxe at this point, correct? As you step in, you would immediately feel its weight return to like the normal weight of a pickaxe versus the feather weight that you were dealing with before. Jarek at that point, with the telescope glued to his face, kind of just doing like big giant circles. He's like, anti-magic. Bob Jarek knows.
I like that when Jarek's not here, he's the sling blade guy for some reason.
And what was the tree anything? Or
the tree itself didn't come off with any sort of magical energy, but the dome that seems to kind of stem from the top of it does have like a see-through sheen.
Well, we don't have the best of experience with these. We back or
I'm going to oh darn. I took the torches out of my backpack because I had the flame tongue glaive. Does anybody have a torch?
I do have a torch. It's one of the few things that I carry.
Okay.
I would love to know where Thor carries a torch. Do you carry around your backpack? Because I know you have a backpack, but you never describe it.
Me?
Yeah.
Not really. I don't really have a use for it because I have a wagon most of the time, or like a caravan. But
Okay, so
I
Thor
guess I could
magically apparates a torch.
No, it's like I imagine it to be like if I have linens or something around my waist, I would just have it like wrapped into / on my thigh, just wedged between. you know,
Well, then
just on the hip.
I'll step outside of the circle long enough to light the torch off of my glaive,
Mhm.
and then I can either take the torch, or Thor, if you want to continue to carry the torch, I'm gonna keep approaching.
Yeah, I can hold it. Taller.
So, Valorant, as you step back into the mouth and make it a few more steps in this time, your foot, barefoot, presses down into the water that has a fair amount of that green goo kind of mixed into it. And as your bare skin hits that liquid, you feel the kind of digging, searing pain that you would correlate with acid, but it isn't anything incredibly intense right off the bat. As you make contact and kind of like quickly lift your foot off just to like, remove yourself from the pain, it very quickly subsides if you like kind of like wash it off with the water nearby. But it is clear that, prolonged contact is probably not recommended by your physician.
How long have I been outside by myself at this point?
Well, they haven't even like made it in at this point, because as far as I understand, Valorant like took a step in, was like, ah shit, took a step out, lit the torch, and then took a step back in.
Is there any, like, the villagers must be able to approach somehow? Can I make out any kind of
So
path
off
or
to
stepstone?
the right side of the mouth, where like if this is the opening and you guys are here like right at the base, there's a small kind of stone circular platform over here to the side that has evidence of, torches or fires or various like drawings on the ground with various paints and things of that nature. So that's over off to the side, but Ganon would have pointed that out when you first came in, but I forgot to point that out, so that is there as well.
All right, I'm gonna go there next.
Are you looking for anything specific, sir?
I want to see if that's maybe the start of a path to get closer in or not.
I probably should have like drawn this out or made a map for the mouth because of how somewhat complicated to describe all this. There isn't any sort of path or roadway or bridge or anything like descending down into this. It just seems to be a cave more or less that's been naturally grown in and covered by the swamp and whatever things got in there. The little platform off to the side appears to be more of like a secondary structure that got set up to do whatever like ritual or process they do for the offering up of their elderly. And so what you would find there is just like, where they would tie their rafts to, and, the small evidence of them being there and doing what they do. But there isn't anything like built around it to go down in.
Ganon, have the swamp denizens ever mentioned to you what benefits they believe they receive for making these sacrifices?
Well, they don't know that I spied on them. I have tried to hint at it to see what I could get from them. Whenever you ask about their elderly, they say they simply return them to the swamp from where they were born from. I imagine that's what they tell themselves, to feed this beast's inhabitants with their elderly. Some sort of process of returning them to the swamp so new life can be formed, something of that nature. It is a lot more effective than having to figure out burying something in a swamp.
Is anyone opposed to knocking?
I'm not.
And
Against-
I would just be frustrated at this point at just how ineffectual we are. And I would just yell out in Draconic, Ziggurat! We're here, hello!
So I literally wrote this note down to not forget this, and I forgot it. But we're gonna pretend like I didn't forget this. This whole time as you guys have been functioning in this basin and walking around and talking, there's been that kind of distant, low, very lengthy heartbeat pounding that you've been hearing every so often. This very long, drawn out ba-bump, and then another minute or so would pass, and then ba-bump. as you're now stood at the mouth of this giant stone head, and you call out down into its depths, and you hear your voice kind of echoing off of whatever surfaces are down there, that noise that you've been hearing, which almost like shakes the ground beneath you each time, kind of causes some of the water to tremble around you. You swear that as you speak, you just hear that pick up just slightly faster, where it might have been a minute before, now it's like 40 seconds. But after, you call out and a few more beats pass, it would return to its more drawn out state.
After I said that?
Yeah. So like you would have, called out the name, heard it kind of echoing, and it would have gone from about a minute to a little bit faster, and then as like time progressed, it would kind of gradually return back to its slower pattern.
No, go ahead.
No, I just said that wasn't nothing.
I'll use my glaive and just kind of lift it up and knock where I'm standing on that platform 3 times, and then call out again. Hail Ziggurat!
Hail.
So as you stand on the ritual platform, kind of tapping a pattern out and calling out, again, as your voice kind of reverberates down into the depths, and you might hear it kind of even return back to you a few seconds later, the heartbeat would pick up a little bit faster. And, again, going from like a minute to about 40 seconds. As you all are kind of now focused in on this, kind of trying to pick up any sort of small difference in it, you would feel like the world is like just kind of very slightly moving around you. Like the moss beneath your feet might give just a little bit more. The swaying of the willow tree branches might just kind of pick up ever so slightly. And then after about, 2 minutes of this, calling out and listening and trying to deceive anything, or not perceive anything, the faintest waft of like slowly moving hot air kind of comes from the cave and past you all and kind of disperses out into the basin behind you.
I'm going to try it again. Hail Ziggurat! The mythic, the timeless! Ziggurat the Knight!
It's really laying it on purpose.
Give me a wisdom check.
I do not have it so far tonight.
Valorant, as you continue your calling out or your attempt to reach whatever is causing this heartbeat to occur, you don't seem to be getting much more of a response of what you've already had, right? Getting maybe a slightly faster beat and then occasionally some push of air coming out. All of you would see Clara Blanc kind of stepping a little bit closer. She has a monocle up to one of her eyes. She's kind of peering down, and you see her ears begin to kind of twitch before she like looks over at Valor and kind of a little bit concerned, then looks back down and there's a lot of interesting things growing down there. Come here.
What do you see?
So, Clara Blanc has limited dark vision due to her wonderful heritage, so she is able to see a bit farther than the rest of you. But stepping beside her, she kind of like, squinches her eyes and kind of points a little bit off in the distance where, unless it was kind of shown to you, there is the faintest dull glow of, a sparse amount of strange vegetation, like very small blue mushrooms, these weird waving, like frilly yellow fungi kind of dripping from the ceiling, this array of plants or vegetation that you're just totally unfamiliar with. And as she's like kind of pointing them out, she's like, "That looks familiar, but not quite. It might be a variation of dragon's tongue. That'd be rather fitting, because dragon's tongue. And then that is a spore bell, but it's blue instead of purple, which is kind of odd." And she begins like kind of listing it off, and then like looks up at you. "I kind of want to go pick some."
I assume that's like past some of the acid water.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
would-
like it's
as-
down
as
in the
she's-
depths.
As she's mentioning this, I would just see if I could get Aurora to go in and swoop in and pick some.
Let me go ahead and set something up for you all. Give me one moment. I think I can just move you off to the side like this. Here we go. Tell me if this works for you all. Yoink. Screen change, correct, sirs?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Can you all see the top part of that with Aurora?
Yep.
All right. So Decker, this is kind of starting at the top of the map and then descending. That's where it's like dark enough that no one else can really see. So I will let you kind of probe around with Aurora if you want and kind of see what's going on versus trying to explain everything over and over again.
So which one of these is the flower she's talking about?
So right here is that kind of hanging yellow flowing moss that kind of comes down from the top of the cave, and then it's kind of around the corner in different places. You would see kind of coming out of here on this right side, there's a small faint blue glow. There's, a few mushrooms and reeds, all grown through all the different walls, but that yellow fungi is the thing that she was kind of first pointing out and is the clearest thing from the mouth of the cave.
So I'll have Aurora just kind of come in and dart back out, come in a little further, dart back out, and just keep...
Can
Yeah.
you hear as Decker when you're in Aurora's body? Like, able to hear
Yeah,
a message?
Yeah, it would be kind of... I can't do much, but I can sense what's going on around me.
Okay. So as Aurora's kind of hopping in, Clara would come up beside you, and I'm assuming she'll understand the mechanics of, how this works. Kind of tap you on the shoulder. "Master Decker, be very careful when touching it. If you ingest any of it, it causes a burning sensation, and many patients describe feeling like a fire is burning in their chest. So I would not touch it with anything bare. Just keep that in mind."
And then I'd bring Aurora back out the cave, and then just come back to myself and... Is it going to harm my bird to touch it with her feet?
Not an expert on owls, but professional opinion, probably not good for the owl to touch it.
Well, then that was a good idea that I won't be pursuing. And
All right.
that will come back out.
Ms. Blanc, do you mind?
Mind what?
Valoran holds his arms, like he holds an arm out to her.
For her to like go in, or
If without any preamble, unless she objects, I want to reach around her waist with my free arm and just hoist her up, and then start walking through the water.
okay. So as you kind of like, I guess, grab her waist and kind of hold her up here, you like feel her like digging around, like grab a little vial, and she has like a little pair of shears in her left hand. She like uncorks it, and she's like, "All right, let's go."
And we're walking.
Okay. So let me go ahead and there you are, and we'll pull Aurora off, and then Clara will just be attached to you basically. But she'll be kind of like looking around like frantically as you all are approaching, and also like keeping her perception as well. As you begin to step through the mouth and into this water, as long as you're moving and you're kind of replanting your feet, and the half mixture of water is kind of like washing away some of the acid that's sticking to your skin, it appears that you are fine as long as you are generally moving throughout it. But if you ever like stop to stand in it for a fair bit of time, you would feel it begin to start digging into your flesh, kind of burning a bit more. So if you keep a steady pace going towards it, it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't seem to be doing any lasting damage to you.
So he shares with the rest of the group behind him. It's unpleasant, but traversable.
And then you just keep going towards the hanging moss.
Right.
Okay.
Are we, just to be clear, are our boots back on?
No.
Could they be at this point?
I left mine. I didn't bring them. So.
But I mean, is this solid ground, or is it still just...
Because, you know, the cave is a big cylinder, basically. So the majority of the bottom of the cylinder is full of liquid, whether that's the water or this weird goo. And then it appears that the side walls, starting about halfway and then down, are secreting or pushing out that neon lime colored liquid that then touches the water. There are various places where it's dry, and again, being in a marsh, dry is a rather relative term. But yeah, that's kind of the general terrain that you're going to be walking on. So you might be walking in water, you might have a few places here and there that you're walking on dry land, but overall it's kind of more or less what the swamp has been kind of feeding you during this adventure.
I would voice my opinion at this point about boots. We seem to be at the end of our journey, such as it is. If we're going to get our feet, our boots wet, now might be a good time to have some more protection.
Ganon would kind of peer down at the water, kind of look at Valorant as he's slowly going down into the darker part of the cave. Or do you have the torch correct, Valorant? Or is Thor still have it?
Still has it.
Okay, so you're going to be walking in the dark?
Walking towards the...
Yeah, the
would
growing.
follow.
Okay.
I would follow after him. I may even lead him, honestly, because
Okay.
he's holding someone.
So you are also in here.
But I am listening to the cautions.
Gotcha. But yeah, after Ganon kind of looks at everything and looks over at you, Decker, who I guess is the only one left up here with him. Don't know if your boots would last. It seems that perhaps it's washing off skin, but leather, metal, who knows?
Probably find a way to roll my eyes as far as they've ever been in my head.
You can try.
No, my boots are special to me. Got a healer for my feet, I guess.
I could put you on my shoulders.
Gladly. Bend down, little fellow.
He kind of looks at you and it's like, you serious?
Are you?
I've done weirder things. And he kind of bends down.
Go on. I'm not riding on your shoulder.
So are you two also descending down here?
Yeah.
Okay. What is Jarek doing, I guess is a good question.
Probably.
He would definitely be towards the back. He probably wouldn't even be in the cave yet. He would just be watching at, like, basically so he can barely see the last person for, like, so he can keep track of them. And then every time they advance, he'd just be like, guys, what are we doing? Why are we... We're going into a dragon. Why are we doing that? You know?
Mm-hmm. 1 second.
We're all fucking...
For some reason, my the audio that I got for this isn't working. There we go. You guys able to hear that now? Okay.
Dripping noise?
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming also Aurora's here, and then we'll put Jarek in the back. That seems fitting.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
carrying Blanc like Miss Elizabeth on my shoulder Um, and just want to get close enough to the stuff that she was talking about. And once she's close enough to take a sample, I'm just sort of like marching in place and kind of swishing my feet around to keep from getting try to keep from getting burnt too badly.
So I'm gonna go ahead and plant you. Yeah, there. Oh, there we go. Go ahead and give me a. I guess since everyone's here, everyone go ahead and give me a perception check.
Owl too.
Sure. There we go. So what we got here? 16,
The
19.
first one was Jarek.
Gotcha. So, okay. And then that's Aurora at the end. Okay. So, I guess Decker and Valorant and Thor, as you were all kind of stepping forward, Valorant kind of swashing ever so slightly, all holding Clara as she's reaching up and begins like clipping some of these samples down into the vial. You hear both off to your west and your east just very low scuttering sounds, like things kind of swashing through water or stepping on things. And then every so often, a few seconds go by, you'd hear like a just like very slowly kind of drifting from either way that the path kind of parts.
Can I have Aurora dart south down to about here and
Sure.
then come back?
If you want to go ahead and place her there for a second. We'll go ahead and we'll give you that. And that. All right. So as Aurora kind of like darts around the corner, there's a quick little like, I guess owl head turn. Off to your east, that pair of green eyes that she had spotted earlier, which is much closer this time and within her field of vision at this point, you see that familiar shape of that lizard kobold hybrid kind of peering at her through the darkness. There's a fair amount of vegetation and like bushes and branch and tree limbs almost kind of growing through these passages that make it slightly obscured to her, but it is peering at her through these various growths and just kind of watching her silently, still kind of pressed against the ground, not moving, just watching Aurora. She comes in and then darts back. But after a few moments, Clara would kind of look down at Valorant and kind of nod her head, capping one of the vials, and then looks back at the party and is like, I think we should leave, or I want to leave. I'll get a few things on the way out.
I would describe what I saw.
Ms. Blanc, I think it may be safer with us, even though it is unpleasant. Afraid I may have to put you down, however.
All right. I'll follow from behind and pick things up as we go.
Stay with Mr. Dissel. He will keep you safer.
Let me go ahead and there we go. This is kind of cramped quarters, but here, we'll do this. Okay.
Forgive me. Step lively. And I'll ease her down.
Mm-hmm. And then she would kind of wiggle by people until she was in the rear, along with Lavelle and Caravan A.
Right. Should we press forward?
I think we must.
I can go first if you would like.
If you don't mind.
Sure. And I would wiggle by him and avoid this, whatever fire bush that is.
She, for lack of a better term, she appeared to collect like the center of it that produced the agitating spores. So it's like disarmed at this point. So you're fine to move by it.
Then I would probably go to the center here.
Okay. So you don't have dark vision, but you have a torch, correct?
Yeah.
what is the range of a torch? Does anyone know that offhand?
I do. It is. It says providing bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light in an additional 20.
Okay, so 40 feet. Okay, let me go ahead and give you roughly 40 feet. And then let me see if it's 40 feet this way. Okay. And again, keep in mind that it is dim about halfway out and not completely bright. But as you kind of step forward, holding the torch aloft, kind of looking back and forth and also straight down, in front of you, where the kind of tighter corridor goes off to the south, you see that the water that you've kind of been stepping through shallowly at this point quickly kind of deepens in front of you. And through that passage down to the ground where you see a collection of, bones and creatures and other not alive things at this point, kind of littering the bottom. The water is probably about 3 feet deep there. At some point, it kind of slopes to get that deep and then stays that deep as far as you can see. And then off to your west and your east, you would see more of those lizard, kobold creatures. Again, the green eyes are the main thing you can spot at this distance in the light level. And they're not moving, they're not doing anything. They're just kind of pressed flat wherever they are, like tucked into like where a root meets the ground or behind a tree or next to a bush, just blending in with the kind of dark black stone that makes up this cave. And they just watch your movement as you come in, their eyes kind of glinting off with the torchlight. And that's what you would be met with.
I would inform, I guess, everybody behind me what I'm seeing. I mean, that looks semi-dangerous. I'll point like ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm not sure how acidic it is. But I mean, look at that guy. And I'll point out probably the dead body that's disintegrated.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, and I'll point to the left. I see, a couple more eyes than that way. Point the other way.
Another thing to mention at this point is now that you've kind of stepped into this crossroad, that deep reverberating beat that you guys have been hearing is now getting stronger, as in like getting closer in proximity to it, to the point where the water in front of you, every time it like pulses, you would see the waves of the water kind of like, I guess, ripple from the source and then calm down again.
Okay.
We determine a direction, or it's just kind of all around us.
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, yeah, since it is like, I will give you southeast as the rough direction. As far as southeast works in an underground sloped cave system.
Or perhaps that way, and Valorant indicates to the east in the direction of the 3.
Okay. And I'll start pushing forward, and I'll just like have a hand up, just like ready at a moment's notice to get my pickaxe if I need it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not making a hostile effort yet.
Okay.
I'm kind of waiting for them to react, for me to react.
So I'm going to move you just one more square. When you get to about there, and you're keeping a very close eye on their movements, holding the torch aloft, looking forward. Once you get about that close to the first one that's, leading the pack, you see its head like lift ever so slightly from the ground that it's pressed against, the fin on its spine kind of standing up tall and then quivering a little bit. You see its mouth separate just enough where like green goo kind of dribbles out of the side of it. And it just goes and then kind of like goes rigid as it's staring at you.
And in Draconic, I would say we're here to see Ziggurat the Black.
of the night.
Give me an animal handling check.
He owns a bird, so
Birds, lizards, kobolds, same thing.
Good, not great.
So Decker, as you call out, again, hearing your voice kind of bouncing off all the various walls in the cave, it relaxes a little bit. The fin kind of descending about to half mast, I guess might be the right term. And it kind of like curls a little bit farther away from the light. It isn't progressing its aggressiveness, but it's still like on guard. It's still like holding its position, almost like a cat, like kind of ready to defend itself.
And then I guess seeing that I had some success with it, I would kind of keep like that animal kind of just talking and soothing. Just, you're a pretty one. But I would be speaking in Draconic. Just, we're not here to hurt you. We would really like to just speak with Ziggurat of the Night.
Don't know where you learned of that, but well done.
Man of many talents.
what is he saying?
You would see the first one that's kind of leading this trio kind of like slowly step backwards to be beside its fellows, and then you see it kind of like turn its head to them, and they don't speak, they don't say anything, but their eyes kind of meet almost in like a silent conversation. And you see the one in the center begin to kind of like continue progressing backwards until he slithers into the water and then disappears out of sight. But the other ones are still kind of there, again, laying kind of flat, just watching you, not moving.
I would like to try with the, let me see. Okay, so I'll point my finger towards the one that's closest to me, and message it in Draconic, and just whisper in its ear that we really mean it no harm. We would prefer not to fight, but
And
just
it
so that
can respond, right? Or is that only with sending?
Okay, yeah, I think it's sending. Point the finger towards a creature within range, whisper a message. The target, and only the target hears the message. It can reply in a whisper that only you can hear. So yeah,
Okay.
it can reply.
So you would call out, and a few seconds, or a call out, you would send the message out. A few seconds would pass. Again, that boom, and then 30 seconds, boom. Eventually, you'd hear this kind of rough, harsh reply, again in Draconic, but it's almost Draconic adjacent. The words are familiar, the demeanor of it is familiar, but it's clear that it is a either older version or a cruder version, or just slightly different from what you have learned from your teachers back in your early years. But you do eventually get the message back.
Leave no further. Our home.
I'll send it back. We will come no further. Can we speak with Ziggurat?
Ziggurat, sleep. No disturb sleep. He arise when he want.
Would he like something? Would you like something?
Do you see the one that you're speaking to kind of move away from his, I guess, stealthy or prepared, what's the word I'm looking for, like posture, kind of almost like standing up a little bit more, again, kind of leaning forward on its hands, its eyes raising up from the floor and meeting about maybe where like your knees or your thighs are, and kind of peering at you.
I want to know why you're here.
We're here to speak with Ziggurat. He has something that we dearly need.
You would see this one kind of lay down flat against the stone again, and almost in the same manner as the first one, begin kind of slithering backwards, its eyes still staying on you, before it also kind of hits the surface of the water and then disappears, leaving just that third one kind of watching you.
Okay, quickly. I've spoken with them. I don't know if he's going to get Ziggurat. They don't seem immediately hostile to us. They just want us to go no further. I've told them, and then I would just tell them what I told them and what their responses were.
Okay, so what about that one?
I believe he's watching to make sure you don't do anything that they deem stupid, like go any further.
So do we just wait?
Yes, wait. I mean, we've come this far. Talking's always better than fighting.
All right.
Valoran will sort of like tuck his glaive into his elbow, just in sort of like a parade rest sort of looking stance.
I'm gonna try to find like some rocks or like an outcropping of something to just stand on while I wait. Or I can like attempt to American Ninja Warrior the side of the walls.
I think that it's fitting that Jarek would probably offer to have Clara or Lavelle like stand on his feet as he is standing in the middle of the, I guess, the passageway, and Caravan A man will kind of have one of them, I guess, almost cradled, I guess, bridal ceremony style. But yeah, you're all kind of left in this middle section as you wait for a response. So as the party is left to mill about, finding their own ways of dealing with the rather uncomfortable floor situation, I guess, Decker, you're just stood where you were, watching the darkness, Thor still holding your torch up. Eventually you would see the original creature that you had reached out to kind of slithering out of the water off to the east, slowly making his way back up to the front. He would eventually return to his original position and kind of like reach or crane his neck out towards you and actually speak versus waiting for you to message. It's like,
Kill the pale worm. We'll let you in.
Kill, and I repeat it in common. Did he say it in common or in Draconic?
and Draconic.
He says, kill the pale worm, and he'll let us proceed. And then I'll look back at him and not sending, but just speaking at this point. What is the pale worm?
So as you reply, whatever pale worm translates to in Draconic, as you say it, you hear like way off to your west in that other, I guess, room that you guys are standing near. You hear, pale worm, pale worm, pale worm, pale worm, and then you hear all of the various creatures in these rooms begin chanting, kind of almost drowning out that resonating deep beat that is still underlying every event, and you just hear them again and again, pale worm, pale worm, pale worm, and they like get almost hyped up a bit. You see them kind of like scurrying around, their fingers and talons kind of scraping the stone, some of them almost like slapping each other in this kind of like, I don't know, amping up scenario before the one that you initially spoke to kind of locks eyes with you. It's like,
He is our enemy, and he lives in Ziggurat.
Then I have a proposal. Let us fight him together.
He kind of pauses for a moment, kind of looks at his companions, and looks back up at you.
We can't go that deep. We're not allowed.
Fair enough. Let me speak with my companions. One moment. Well, gents, we kill a pale worm, they leave us alone. Let us go further.
Do we know anything about a pale worm?
Oh, yes, quite. No, I've had no idea what a pale worm is.
Where is it?
Worm could be some sort of colloquialism for dragon, dragonkind, little mini shit of a dragon. It's probably white. If we're going to assign properties to a dragon, maybe that's it. I have no idea. But it does seem to be the logical next step.
I'll turn back to Mr. Guideman.
As you turn back to him, you would see that Ganon and Clara are in a kind of hushed conversation that they're going back and forth with as you turn around. Clara kind of like perks up at you, and Ganon like looks over, and we might know what it is, maybe. And then
Well,
Clara kind of steps forward. There is a particular parasite that comes from the swamps of Liamus that Sir Tola was telling me about. It is very similar to the saw knot parasite that we are familiar with. It feeds off. It's basically like a grub, a long, thin, pale, almost like a tapeworm potentially, if you are familiar with that. Feeding off of dead flesh, usually. It is bred or hatches from an egg laid in the stomach or the intestines. Pale worm and parasite, and makes a little bit of sense potentially. It might be what we are facing.
Parasite of the intestines.
Yes.
Have we considered that maybe we're inside of Ziggurat in some sense?
oh boy.
The only thing that might be problematic, if it is what I think it is, they have what would you describe it as? A very hard front-facing apparatus, because once they're done feeding, they burrow from the inside out and then form themselves on the skin before they escape. It's like a defense mechanism, I guess you would call it. So attacking it from the front is difficult, and when it does pop up on the skin, it's very difficult to remove. But that's the only thing that I can think of that might help.
It is useful information, if that is indeed what we are fighting.
It's a bit of a long shot. I don't like to make assumptions without more knowledge, but from what Ganon was, or Mr. Toller was telling me that it seemed at least close, potentially.
Well, I guess doing a favor, if you will, for Ziggurat would probably not be a bad idea.
I mean, who knows?
Considering be inside of him right now.
Yes.
They're certainly enthusiastic about it.
And I think it's quite... Words escape me, but it seems to be a good sign. They're inclined to speak. As scary as they look.
Do they seem to be, like, believable? Like, they're not just gonna come kill us afterwards? I mean, they are like weird little poisonous things.
I believe treachery and deceit to be more of a human condition. I think they're probably telling the truth.
You are a very trusting person, Decker Caspian.
Tell them we will seek this pale worm.
We will seek this pale worm. Point us in the direction. How far do we have to travel? What dangers are we going to face along the way? Is there anything we should be prepared for? You are quite stunning, I might say. Beautiful creatures.
So as the one that you are speaking to kind of receives your list of questions and then curiously kind of tilts its head at the last statement, it kind of lowers itself back down to the ground and then I guess kind of like knocks its head in the general direction of like south, the passage to your south.
Through the water, deeper inside. In the deep below, pale worm, pale worm.
We will kill this pale worm. We will seek you when it's done. What is your name? Are you the leader?
Name?
How are you called? How do your companions call you?
No.
Your name is No.
No name.
No name. Can I give you a name?
No.
I'd like. Going to give you one anyway. You look like a cat I had that I named Greenie. We'll be back, Greenie.
Just kind of stares you down.
Wait, do we have to go underwater? Is that what he's saying? Or just down the path?
Down the path to the south.
Oh boy.
What could possibly go wrong? It's all coming together. This is a wonderful idea. So glad I came.
We're committed now.
Kind of just like hands up my way back to the south. Be like, I guess, am I in the water here? I don't know.
Yeah. So it starts,
Okay.
shallow, a few inches, and then quickly begins descending to about 3 to 4 feet.
So now, are these balls on the side? Can I like put my hands out and touch them?
They are secreting that lime green goo that you probably don't want to touch.
Okay. Is that like branch actually a branch?
There
Like
are
a log?
various roots and vines and like vegetation kind of growing around, which would probably help assist you like kind of like pulling yourself forward, but there wouldn't be enough to either support your weight or keep you fully out of the water. It's almost like crawling through like a bush or shrubbery. Like there's
Was
just
there
like
anything that we could have made a raft out of outside?
there's like some very burnt spare wood on the ritual circle.
I'm just gonna be the beta test. All right, here it goes, and I'm just gonna like keep moving forward
Mm-hmm.
as I'm, because that seems to be the recurring theme with this stuff. Just keep moving.
So your speed's 40 feet, correct?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Let me make sure. Oh, you can't even see that far. Forgot I need to. Okay. To get to, at least as far as you can see with the torch, Again, not being able to see farther than that, which is 40 feet. You have to give me one con saving throw.
Okay. Like to go 40 feet?
Yes.
Okay. Here goes nothing. I will go ahead.
Okay. Oh, 1 second.
Hey guys, can we take like a 2-minute pause real quick? I just need to make one phone call.
Go for it, sir.
Sorry about that.
The suspense.
Guy, ruining my immersion.
My wife's going to sleep right now, and
Gotcha.
I'm just kidding. You're
Yeah.
good.
Make
I
it
gotta
to there. And you're going forward with the torch and leaving your friends in darkness. Is that the plan?
Yeah. I mean, like, it's 2020, right? So if I go 40 feet, they can still technically see everything between me and...
Yes, but they themselves would be in darkness, and everything else would be in darkness.
Yeah, well, my plan was just to, like, see if it stung, and then to just be like, okay, if it starts stinging, just move quickly.
Okay.
And I guess have it all kind of go with, or as
Well,
fast.
yeah, as soon as you're in it for more than, like, a second or two, you would feel it begin to, like, hurting you, and then, you know, you would assume you kind of rush through it. So you'd probably get, like, I don't know, 15 feet before you start feeling that and, like, understanding it.
Then, yeah, I would just kind of, like, yell back, like, move quickly, and, like, since I'm already in it...
Okay.
Is there like anything to grab onto or to move out of the water, like anything like that?
Well, the passage itself is maybe only, like, 8 to 10 feet tall. So there isn't, like, a whole lot of space above the water to, like, really be out of it, given your size, right? Like, and there's no
Yeah.
real way to, like, Tarzan monkey bar yourself across the ceiling.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's anything like I could grab onto to pull myself a little bit more out of the water, but that's fine. But yeah, is this stuff like more of the fire
It does
stuff?
look familiar, yes.
Okay, well, I would point that out and avoid that.
Okay. It would be very difficult to avoid. So would you call back for Clara?
Yeah, I would have Clara be on my shoulders, and I'd essentially like walk her through,
Okay.
and you know, I'll take whatever I need to remove that.
Okay. So moving to, like, there.
Yeah. And I'll, like, you know, hold her.
Okay. As she's, like, balancing on top of you again, grabbing another vial in her shears, she kind of, like, gives you a little head pet as you guys are, like, getting closer. She's like, "I'm so sorry, big lad, but thank you." And then reaches up and begins kind of clipping it away.
Okay. Then
But, so we'll take you at first con save, and you will
Okay.
take 1 point of acid damage, sir.
oh, come on, guys, hurry up. It really doesn't feel great. And I'll, I guess, signal for them to follow me and keep pushing through, I guess, with Clara still on my shoulder.
What's the rest of the
Valorant
group
says to the group, stay close to me as you can, and ushers for like one person to go in front of him, and then the rest of the group to be behind him.
I guess I would be in front of you if you're following me.
So that where is it? Here it is. So whoever stays in that zone will get a bonus to their save.
Okay.
Yeah, I would wait for Valorant to catch up with me, and I guess that would count as my first, and then I'd move 40 feet. I don't know what your movement speed is, though.
Mine is 30, and I think everybody else is probably going to be 30.
And I guess I'll suffer and match yours, your speed.
Okay.
All right.
So
And we're
everyone's
moving.
huddled behind Valoran. Thor, are you just progressing forward, right?
Yeah, like I'm
Okay.
progressing as they're progressing me.
So you get to here. Go ahead, give me a dexterity saving throw.
It's something I can see.
No. But you get a +5 to that if Valoran is watching you, correct?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So as you're like wading through, it's probably about like waist height or maybe like thigh height water for you. And Clara's kind of behind you. She's also like almost idly like reaching up and grabbing various like leaves and stuff as you guys are moving along, like tucking them and things, like shoving them in her bandana and stuff. It's really difficult to see down into the depths of the water, kind of based off of where you're holding the torch and the darkness around you, and also the thickness of the acid in the water itself. So as you go to take a step, you feel your ankles snagging on a root, kind of wrapping around you for a second, and you feel yourself beginning to like start falling forward, afraid that you're gonna just dump Clara into the water before you like instinctively throw a hand up and grab a root and like catch yourself right as your face is about to like meet the surface, and you like yank yourself back up.
Watch out for the roots.
And then you continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess since I'm like taking a penalty to my movement already, I would, now that I know that there's things to trip on, I would like kind of, I guess, more cautiously push my way through.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm gonna have, I guess, everyone give me 1 round of Constitution saving throws.
Do you want me to roll, Jared?
Yeah, because you would be following.
The second one is his.
Okay. And then everyone's getting the +5 as far as I'm aware. So what, that's 19, 14, and 15?
So it's already included in mine, but not everybody else's. So
Okay.
mine actually is 14.
Okay.
Mine's
So
31, by the way.
Okay. Decker and Valoran, you would take 4 points of acid damage. Thor and Jarek would take 2.
I don't know that I can damage Jarek.
That's fine. What's his HP? His total HP?
He has 5 temp hit points, so it would take off of that, right? So
Yeah, but give me a total so I can keep track.
45.
Okay.
45 plus 5 temp.
Okay, so it's 50 total?
Yeah.
Okay, and he just took 2, so it's at 48?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're going to progress to the edge of the water, kind of down here, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
The Clara would kind of stop you again to like get out of the water and clear that moss to yourself. Probably like standing there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, put you there, and give you guys this, and this, and that. Okay, that reveal everything?
Yes.
And let me grab all these guys back here. All right. So again, as you step out of the water, Thor, you feel the water kind of like washing off of your lower half. Clara's toes just like very slightly kind of tapped it. She reaches up again, begins clearing more. At this point, she has like 5 vials of the stuff, which I'm sure Jarek is going to mention at some point and want to like burn something down with. But she tucks it all away, kind of pats your head a little bit. Thank you. And then as she's like patting your head, you would all hear from your west, as you're kind of coming out of the deeper part of the water, the familiar of the kobold lizard hybrids off to your west, who are kind of filling out that room and watching you all with green eyes.
Are we going the correct way? I would ask them.
The one closest to you kind of nods his head towards you, off in like the eastern direction.
Other way.
Yep. I would, if she collected it, I would already be moving
Yeah.
because I know you said southeast
Mhm.
direction.
I would
Is
point,
this? Go ahead.
I would just point towards where you're going.
I would just look back, nod, and continue. So this is now water, correct?
Yeah, so there is that kind of strip on the northern side you can kind of walk on.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I guess I'll put Clara down because I don't need to carry her through anything. Just stick to the wall. Watch out for any slick places.
Yeah, she gets sit down and begins like trying to organize all the collections she's been making, and she like pulls out again super soggy and almost wasted paper and tries to like start labeling them, but eventually kind of gives up and just starts jamming them in her various pockets.
Wait, one moment, lads, one moment. Excuse me. Do you mind if I take a look at this room here?
What?
Can I see those dead bodies there?
Down to the south?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would like to look at those humans that died there and see if there's anything I can learn from them.
You see them kind of, oh, no, repeat for me. There we go. You'd see them kind of like looking between each other and the front one kind of looking over at you.
Don't disturb. Just look.
I won't disturb. I'll just look. So, am I able to get here without disturbing anything?
Yes. Go ahead, give me a dexterity saving throw, sir.
Yay. You mentioned I was looking for traps. All right.
One question I need to, I guess, somewhat ask you all is none of you are proficient with, like, herbalism or nature, right?
Yeah, correct. I don't think.
I'm definitely not. That would have to be.
Yeah, so unless Clara is, like, in line of sight of stuff, it'd be difficult for you guys to discern natural traps, is what I might call it.
I got you. Am I getting any benefit off of, before I roll, am I getting any benefit from that +5 from Valorant?
Valorant, I'll let you rule that one based off of where you are.
Can you guys not see the aura?
You can, but like, did you follow him at all, or is that where you're standing? Like, that's the general question I'm asking.
I think I was staying with Thor and Clara.
Oh, also, your light would be very limited over here without Thor, correct?
Yeah.
Because he's the one holding the torch. But so, what was the? Did you get a dex save in there?
No, I haven't yet, but
Okay.
there we go. Ouch.
Ouch. So Decker, as you kind of very gently move past your new friends and kind of glance into the water, using this like warm orange light kind of coming off of these strange looking mushrooms to your left, you kind of lean over and just casually kind of reaching your left hand down, you just barely brush against one of the swollen heads of the mushrooms with your gloves of lubing, patent pending. And as it just barely disrupts it, there is a loud and sudden pop and a burst of almost what appears to be like embers from a fire that shoot out across you, kind of scattering across your face, kind of getting tangled in your hair. You take 7 points of fire damage as you begin kind of like swatting away the embers, kind of brushing them out, kind of feeling it digging into your skin, and kind of taking a very healthy step away from this cluster of mushrooms.
Okay.
But are you
Good
still attempting to peer into that room as well?
Is it over, or if I'm gonna keep getting burned if I stand here?
I mean, if you kind of like crane your head over them, that's probably the best way to look, but there's no feasible way for you to get by there without disturbing the mushrooms.
Well, and they told me just to look anyway. That's all I wanted to do, was just look at the bodies. So
But yeah, as you're kind of peering into the pool after taking your substantial burn, you would see the remnants of varying states of decay, of what you would imagine are elderly swamp people. The one kind of closest to you on the northern bank is like half submerged in the deep green liquid. The lower half of her body, all the flesh is kind of eaten away from the bones, just leaving like her face and half of her chest kind of left to identify her. There's that somewhat familiar look of like the dreadlocked hair kind of pushed into a large like beehive kind of shape that has also been kind of damp and sogged and torn apart slightly, but still somewhat recognizable. So your general, I guess, assumption or observation is that this might be some of the offerings and where they ended up.
Right. Good to know. And as I pass, I'd look at him and tell him, thank you.
You all right? What was it?
It appears that that's where their sacrifices go.
So, and I sort of look back at Ganon. If I understand what is happening, we may be inside Ziggurat. And the people who live in the swamp spoon feed their old and infirm to the sleeping Ziggurat.
Seems close enough.
I don't know what I expected, but this is not it.
Same. We can always turn around.
Hardly.
I haven't moved because I don't know if you want me to saves or anything, but I would be like fully creeping.
Give me a perception check real quick. Actually, no. Give me insight with disadvantage. No. Give me a nature check with disadvantage.
Just mean.
Give me every skill. All right.
That didn't change much.
So as Clara is still kind of busy, organizing everything, and you're kind of like creeping forward, you see these blue mushrooms kind of sprouting out of the crack right at the base, like near the foot of the cave. And you just kind of like give them like a passing look, kind of appreciating that they were shedding a little bit of light on where you're stepping. And as you disturb the ground kind of roughly near them, you see one of them let out this like little poot of spores, just like small cloud of blue glowing drifting spores. And you're just like, huh. Give me a Constitution saving throw, sir. And are you outside of Valoran's benefit?
Well, I was hoping everybody would be moving with me. That was my
I'm
goal.
trying to keep up with Thor.
Okay,
So
okay.
if he moves, I move.
Okay. So, as you're looking down at it and your like head tilts, you feel like someone is rubbing your eyes with like a towel. Like this like scratchy but soft kind of like vigorous scrubbing, and you immediately are like and your vision starts getting blurry. You start kind of like whipping your hands around, blinking rapidly. You feel like tears begin to start like sprouting up on your eyes, and then you hear Clara kind of like chiming up from behind you. Oh no, don't touch that. And then you like blink a few times and you feel this like heavy residue being like scraped off of the front of your eyes as you are like forcing it out from your flesh, and you can feel that it was like attempting to kind of like wrap around your eyeballs, for lack of a better term, and you kind of forced it away before like kind of swiping your hands and moving away from them.
Ew.
Those are blind bells. I would not go anywhere near them.
Oh, okay.
What do they do?
They blind you.
Yes, how and for how long, and is it permanent? So cure.
Exposed times to them could cause years. Temporary exposure hour.
Okay, so avoid those things.
Just
Clara, the more I'm thinking, you should probably be looking with me when I'm moving forward.
I was trying to yes.
Can you clip
All
these
right.
too?
Best to just and go forward.
All right.
Perhaps
just kinda,
we should all hold hands.
Just getting weird now.
Well, you guys are more or less blinding yourselves while going through this zone, so being connected would probably be ideal.
Yeah. I'm just.
Well, I guess I shouldn't reveal. I'll reveal this before you guys cover your eyes because you are over here now. Did that all reveal?
Yep.
I would message to the nearest creature. Can you clear the way for us? Can you move some of those? Like, what's this? Is that fire shit?
It looks similar, yes.
Like mushrooms or something?
Yeah, the ones that kind of shot the ember spores out.
Yeah.
Go ahead and give me a... I'll let you decide persuasion or animal handling.
Oh, well, persuasion.
Okay. As you call out to the one kind of like embedded in these glowing mushrooms, you see his head kind of poke up, giving you a very well-defined like silhouette of his shape finally, now that they're not against like a black backdrop. And as it kind of like lifts its head to you, you see almost kind of like a goofy grin on its snout before like the acid kind of drips from its chin, and you hear this kind of like low laugh. It's like and then it turns to the side and goes like a and then like shoots out this large glob of spit, this green goo kind of like spewing from its throat, and it lands on one of the mushroom heads before it begins to like wilt and bend and kind of bow down, removing like one of the obstacles, and then it kind of turns the one behind it, which it also goes like and then like hits another mushroom bell, beginning to kind of like clear a small path for you all.
I would message him. Thank you. Good. Kill pale worm.
We'll go ahead and say like there's a clear path right there.
Alright. Then I'm just gonna blindly move till you tell me to stop and save from something.
Well, let me move Clara to the front because apparently that is the plan now, and move the lollygaggers.
Either like in the front or like beside or like behind me.
Okay, one moment.
Because I don't want her to have to make saves.
Yeah, if Clara Blanc went blind, who else would identify plans for you all? There we go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and move her there. And move the rest of these guys here.
Here, I guess.
Excellent. Grab Decker and the line. There we go. Alright. So as you move past the blinding bells and kind of very gracefully step through this path that they've made for you, the occupants of this cave begin to kind of like almost like riot police line you from the other side of this small stream flowing through this room. They are lined up, just kind of watching you, eyeing you, all of them slowly kind of scanning each person as they go by. It's clear that they are ready at any moment to pounce on you if this goes south in any way. But eventually, as you make it into this large room, the one all the way at the last one in the line kind of nods his head off to the southwest and then stares at Decker. It's like,
Pale worm, there.
We will take care of pale worm. We shall return shortly. What is your name?
Name?
How are you called?
No.
I'll call you Ashes. Tell Greenie I said hello. We'll be back. Pale worms this way, he says.
Kind
So-
of just like hold my torch out and see what I can see.
So for what it's worth, as you guys kind of move past the blind bells and then look up to the north, you would see a intense, focused collection of the glowing orange mushrooms filling up that northern passage almost completely, almost sealing it up, like a fleshy valve might be the description that I would use. And as you are stood here, this is the loudest that resonating heartbeat has been. Where at the mouth of the cave, it was kind of this distant like, ba-dump, ba-dump. As you're walking by this collection, it is like, doosh, doosh, doosh. Like it's actually like kind of shaking you a little bit as you move by. But then you would begin descending to the southwest.
Yeah. So is this the bottom? Is this like a cliff?
No, that's
A
just some
wall.
rocks. The passageway you were told about is this in the southwest.
Gotcha. Okay. Then I'd look for, I guess, the most shallow area to cross
Mhm.
and then cross quickly or jump across. I could probably jump across, but
This is like shallow and
okay.
thin enough that you guys can just kind of like step over it or very quickly move through it. It's not like that impassable.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, so like looking at the ground, Clara behind me, Valoran behind her. Just pressing forward.
Okay. Yeah, so let me give you a little bit more. We'll go ahead and give you this. There you go. So where the room you were just in is pretty wide and maybe like 20 feet tall, this begins to very quickly grow smaller and smaller until the hole is maybe about 6 feet in diameter all the way around like a perfect circle. So you're kind of having to like hunch walk through it at this point. But it is about that size and pretty uniform as you begin to progress down it.
All right. Kind of a crap space for me and you, Valoran. And I'll just kind of push through. Do I hear anything
So go ahead and everyone give me a perception check.
besides the thump thump?
Yeah, thump thump.
The thump thump.
Okay.
That's the last one's Jared.
Hey, guys.
Guess what I hear?
So Decker and Thor, as you are stepping into this tighter, smaller space and stepping farther away from that deep thumping noise that you've now almost kind of let grow familiar in the back of your hearing because of how often you're now hearing it, you begin to kind of reach out to see if you can identify anything else noteworthy. And very distantly, you hear this like some like mass rolling or churning or scraping might be general identifiers I would use. And as you're hearing or listening out, you would also kind of like peer around like the area you're moving into using the torch to kind of like glance at what is, in front of you or anything that stands out to you. You would notice where the rest of this cave that you're in has been full of vegetation and mushrooms and, moss and nature and the swamp itself. This is almost like perfectly clean black stone. There's no goo trailing out of the side of the walls. There's no growth except for like some spare roots kind of coming out of the stone here and there. It is almost like picked clean might be the right adjective. And there are distinctly, now that there isn't a layer of like dirt and grime on it, deep grooves in the stone in various places, almost like someone took like a big like spade shovel and just took a chunk out of the stone in some places. But that is what you would hear and see moving into this.
But I don't hear, like, it's not, that noise isn't coming from like one of the two directions.
Not that you can discern.
Okay. Then I'm gonna kind of like try to move slower and like stealthily if I can, until I can discern exactly where this is coming from.
Okay.
Just forward
To
at least this division.
Yeah. Give you that, and you can kind of see a little bit more around that corner. So off to your east is a very shallow pool of water and that kind of acidy liquid, maybe about 6 inches deep at the deepest. That kind of stretches out before your light kind of fades, and then to your south is just more like kind of uniform cave. Trying to listen out, it's again very hard to discern, but your best guess is it's off to the east.
Okay. And I guess as everybody's kind of following me, I'll just point to the east and just kind of whisper back, "It's this way." I will cautiously make my way across this pool of water.
Okay.
I'm trying not to make any noise.
Go ahead and give me a stealth check.
Okay.
Okay. I guess Valorant and Decker also give me stealth checks. Okay. So as you begin moving through this water, yeah, I had a feeling that's how that was going to go. As you begin moving through this water, Valorant trying to stick behind you in case any sort of stray fungus decides to blind you as you're moving. As you're shifting over the water, Valorant's bare feet trying to find good purchase. You feel your ankle kind of like slipping a little bit as you step on a rather slimy stone. And as you do, the tip of your glaive just kind of like swings slightly and taps the wall beside you. It's nothing incredibly loud or anything, that stand out, but it's a sharp kind of metallic ting that you hear quickly kind of roll through the cave in front of you. And after kind of pausing, realizing that you've made a significant noise, you wait a few seconds, and then you hear that churning noise kind of growing a little bit louder. This like...
Does it
Oh,
look
boy.
like this hallway we're in? Does it look uniform all around, like it's been carved out, or is it natural?
It's not like perfectly smooth, but it is basically a roughly perfect circle of a 5-foot or 6-foot diameter. So it doesn't look like a natural cave, but it is still made out of like rough stone that seems to be somewhat rubbed or dug or mined smooth.
Guys, if I had to guess, we're walking along a tunnel this thing chewed through. And
Might be a great guess. We have to. I mean, I don't have another way to go through this. I'll just press forward like I do.
at least you two are only as loud as a small army.
I think that's a compliment.
Luckily, we fight as well as a small army.
That's what I was saying. I'm still keeping an eye out. I'm trying to be stealthy, even though we're not. Push them forward. Looking for anything to come eat me.
Okay. Pause there for a moment, sir.
No.
All right. So Thor, and then Oopsies. One moment. As you move around the corner, Thor, kind of like creeping around, kind of peering, and hearing that kind of shifting, moving noise, as you hold the torch out and then kind of peer down into the darkness, you aren't met with a pair of eyes. You are met with a stone wall. And you're like, oh, dead end. And then you kind of peer a little bit closer because the stone wall is moving. And as you make just a little bit of noise, kind of just like stepping forward, you see that it is a pointed, almost like rock beak looking device kind of at you. And it separates into these 3 triangular shapes. And as the mouth of this worm opens wide, you see hundreds of circular rows of teeth growing tighter and tighter and tighter until you see its throat, which is maybe about a foot wide at the center, you know, opening up to like a fleshy throat, neck swallowing device. As it opens its mouth up towards you, you just hear, I guess, kind of resonating from the depth of its length, you know, unclear how far this thing extends past the mouth that you're facing. You just hear this, and it begins to kind of like crawl towards you, not incredibly quickly, but it is filling up the entirety of this passage and slowly pushing towards you.
Oh boy. I guess I'll just wait for it to come into my melee range so Valorant can hit it too. Can I move like into another space over here? Or is that not a space?
Probably not a ton.
Okay. But from where I am, Valorant can still hit it.
Yes.
Okay. Then I'm going to, I guess, hold an attack
Okay.
until it gets in my melee range.
Okay. So Valorant, you watch as Thor pulls his pickaxe out, stands firm, and watches as this stone wall just approaches him.
Let's lead it to the wider area.
Oh yeah, that might be a good idea.
Are you leaving?
Yeah, I'll kind of tell them. I'm gonna make sure it's following,
Mm-hmm.
but I am gonna like try to draw it out.
Okay. So, as the entire group shifts around, the less combat inclined companions of yours letting out little like shrieks and gasps as they begin kind of clambering back through the hallways. Thor's, you know, holding the torch in the back as this giant wall is continuing to basically follow behind him, matching his pace, and you all begin to trudge back up to that main room.
Yeah, I'd basically be like that guy with the torch, like luring the T-Rex. It's like, come on, you stupid animal. And I guess as we all retreat back into a bigger space.
Mm-hmm. So you guys can go ahead and move yourselves all the way up to that room.
Okay, would it follow us all the way back?
Yes. So eventually, oh, Jarek, he got swallowed. He's fine. No, but as you all move into that main area and you are all entering it, you would see the, I guess, the other inhabitants of the cave. I need to delete this line because it's going to annoy me. There we go. They rush up, almost kind of like slithering past you, crawling out of the water, kind of getting up to the entrance or the exit, depending on which way you're going. As the worm like hits its blockage, where like the room begins to open up, and the head of this thing begins to reveal itself. Its maw opening up yet again as its teeth begin to almost like rotate in place. The kobolds run up and go and start like lobbing globs of acid spit towards it, where its beak slams shut and it begins to start like retreating backwards into the hole, like rotating and curling, and then eventually slithering back the way that it came.
Okay, well, then I'm gonna...
No, let us fight him here.
No, Alice. No pale worm.
As it's leaving,
Oh.
can
That's not the pale worm.
Our room.
Can we use it to fight the pale worm?
No.
Please?
Persuasion check. Persuasion with disadvantage.
No.
As you try to reason, you just are immediately drowned out by the other cult.
Pale one! Pale one! Pale one!
As it's leaving, can I like take strikes at it?
You can try.
Okay, because I mean that's got its back turned to us, correct?
No, it is crawling backwards.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll still hit it.
Okay, go ahead, give me a attack roll then, sir.
You want 2 or 1?
Are you striking with 2
Yeah.
or 1?
I don't know how.
If I had discerned that he was doing that, I would have tried to give him the help action with the owl. Could I do that?
Sure.
All right. Does he get advantage?
Yeah, if you want to roll with advantage, sir.
Yeah, you can just count that as the first one,
Okay.
and then
Okay. Those would both hit.
so 13 and
So as the beak kind of slams closed, there's no discernible face to this thing, at least as far as you've seen, like, from your perspective. It's just these, like, sloped beaks that eventually kind of turn into a point. As you strike out, you land, like, a long strike against, I guess, one of the curves, and it just glances off like stone, even with, like, a pickaxe that is almost designed to break into something of this, I guess, caliber. It doesn't seem to be able to find purchase, as, like, the worm almost kind of, like, leans into the force of your strike, like the head kind of shifting as you hit it, so that you can't get, like, an actual digging blow. So it's clear that after your 2 strikes, and it, like, kind of throws its head away each time, it then just, like, darts itself back into its lair, and then disappears with seemingly not taking any damage.
And does it go back right direction?
I mean, it's hard for you to see because you can't see around that corner where you're at, unless
Yeah,
you're following it.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like following it.
It almost sounded like was the opening not big enough for the worm, or
No, it is. It just, like, stopped once it reached, like, an open space. It, like, only stuck its head out and then retreated, also because the kobolds were shooting it with spit. So
okay. So kind of watching this unfold, I want to position myself in front of the frontmost kobold, and he can't understand me, but I want to point, like a gesture behind them further into the room, and shout, "If you want us to kill the pale worm, back up!" And we'll attempt to intimidate them.
gonna be intimidation with disadvantage.
And as he's saying that, I'd say, "Please back up. We need room to fight." He means you no harm.
As it is a deft display of your presence, Valorant, but without them understanding the words, it's mostly just you kind of, like, posturing at them, which causes them to kind of, like, pose themselves in a ready stance. And as Decker, you begin to speak to them, the one that you've kind of been going back and forth with responds,
No. Touches the water in room. Cigarette die. No.
All right. I'll hold my hands up. I have a plan. And I'll look at Valorant. Not that kind of plan. Just a plan. So it's hopefully retreating around the.
yeah,
Oh.
if you kind of, like, glance your head around as it was retreating, you would see it swoop back, yeah. That way.
Okay. It's going back down that tunnel, right? What if I can draw it down the other tunnel, and you guys wait at the entrance and then hit it as it goes by.
Yeah, because we could stand there and do like one person here, one person here, one person here.
Well, I'm saying, like, you would be here and here as it moved down the tunnel, following me. Because we don't know how long this.
All right, let's try it.
All right. I don't have a shield to bang on, but remember me. And I'll run back in, and I'll try to retrace my steps to follow the worm wherever it ended up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how far back it is.
So, Thor would be leaving you all in complete darkness, to make that clear.
Who else has a torch? Do we have a second torch?
I don't know if anyone brought anything.
Anybody? Anybody else? Nobody else has a torch? Ganon?
Jarek
Oh.
has a candle.
Jarek has a candle?
Don't we
Yeah.
have a pocket, son?
Magic items don't work.
It's not a. It's only. It's for 1 hour. A candle shed a bright light in a 5-foot radius and 5 dim. So it's like 10 feet of vision, but it's better than nothing.
Wait, can we go back to magic items don't work? What happened?
You missed that part?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. So none of our magic items work?
Yeah,
Whenever
as soon as
we
you step through the mouth, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Valorant's flame thing didn't work, which is why we only have a torch.
Okay.
So Jarek has a candle.
He does have a candle, I see.
Guys,
His
guys.
guys, I got it. I'll pull out this tiny ass candle. Door. Oh, yeah. You guys don't have any light. I forgot. No, light it really quick. Okay, when he comes by, just hit him with whatever you got, and I'll run in and try to attract the attention of the.
So you have the torch and they have a 5-foot candle?
Yup.
Okay. So as our heroes are gathered around a candle for light, and Thor goes charging off into the tunnels, you're gonna go lure the beast?
Yeah. Where is it? First of all,
You have to find it, yeah. That's the thing.
Well, it's not in my visual line of sight.
No, not right now, no.
Okay. And I will, I guess, go as far as I can.
Okay. Are you trying to be stealthy? Probably not, right?
I would probably, like, if I get to here and I don't see it, I may stealth.
Okay, well, go ahead and
Like-
give me a stealth check. Okay. As you begin following the direction you saw it retreat in, you can hear the noise of it coming from this way, but it's very unclear like what direction overall that is. And as you're like creeping along the walls, trying to stay somewhat quiet, but you're still listening and you're almost distracted, you make enough noise that you hear it pick up its pace, if that makes more sense, and retreating further. I'm gonna go ahead and put you here, and you still have not seen it, or you can't really easily discern which way it went. Let me go ahead and give you that, and give you this.
Are we following Thor?
I thought we were waiting for him to lead the thing back by us.
It's going this deep. Might be a
Yeah.
better fight it down here.
I guess if you're following me, you'd be able to send them a message to let them know. Or at least have Valorant and Jarek follow us. Maybe with Clara. I don't know. The whole group can follow me. I don't really care as long as we know the plan once we get to a choke point.
I would send Valor a quick message. He doesn't seem to be coming back. You might want to follow.
All right.
Follow the sound of the banging.
Ding, ding, ding.
Is Jarek following, or is he staying?
He would follow. And so would, I imagine, Clara and our guide, right?
So the whole gang's coming again.
Yeah. 'Cause
Okay.
it's basically going to be like whenever we get to one of these points, like say this is chokehold, I would lead it back the way we came, and they would go to the left, and
Okay.
or one of the.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go southeast.
Mm-hmm. I'll go ahead
this
and.
Is it shallow or not shallow?
Yeah, that's the same. Like all the water down here is a lot less problematic.
Okay.
Okay. I think I might have done that a little too rough, but that's fine. But yeah, you can go ahead and go around that corner if you want, sir.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make it a little bit simpler on you. And that is where you would run into it as you're moving through the water and then glancing around the corner again. You'd be met with that same closed beak before it like senses your presence and opens its mouth again and begins moving towards you.
Yep. I'd be like, "Oh, hello, boy," and I'd just like cling my pickaxe against the wall, kind of give it a noise to follow, and I'd start like running back.
Okay.
It's coming, and I'll like basically. So I don't know which side you guys want to be on, but whatever side they're on, I'm leading it the opposite.
Well, the group should probably decide that with their little candle.
I think we'll just stay where we are, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably good where we're at. If you go to the left.
Well, I don't know what's to the left is the only problem, but we're about to find out, and I'll run to the left, and I will make sure that it follows me when I ting like my pickaxe. I'll make sure that it follows me. And not.
Are you guys standing here when it shows up?
Yeah, I'd say as it comes by, we could probably attack it and then stop and fight it here, don't you think?
That's the hope.
Yeah, I'd make sure that you're not within melee range of it for like a second while I run by, and then lurch in as it goes by. That would be my goal.
Come up with a precise plan.
That is my plan. My plan is for them to basically be 5 feet behind, like, so if this is the space it's in, I want them to be 5 feet away so that then when it follows me back, they can either follow or make strikes as it's going by.
Okay. So when it gets here, and it sees the divide, and sees people to the right and people to the left, you guys have to roll me a deception check or a persuasion check to make it go one way or the other.
Have eyes?
I mean, it can sense people.
Well, that's why I was tinging the wall. Like, I was making it follow me.
Yes, but when it is met with a crossroad with 2 targets...
Okay, sure, yeah, whatever I need to do to make it follow me.
So, you'll roll persuasion, and Valor and Decker will roll deception.
There you go. Follow me.
Can I have just been hiding?
Well, that's what I was kind of asking you guys earlier, is if you were just standing there waiting.
No, I would have tried to hide with my cloak.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and use that in Thor's persuasion, that it would follow you as it reaches that crossroad. So at this point, to make everything work, let's go ahead and roll initiative. And because it's going to be a little bit difficult to explain without kind of being a little bit meta about it, for each round, you are going to be pushed 20 feet down the tunnel. Okay? And if you can't move, you are going to be attacked by the worm. Okay? So at the start of each round, you're going to be moved 20 feet. And then the rest of the round will play out normally. Okay. So that's... do you want to roll Jared's initiative?
Oh, yeah.
Because he does have some range stuff to use, I would imagine.
12.
Okay. So it's Decker, then Thor, then... Yeah,
it's
Jarek.
Decker.
No, yeah. Jarek, then
Decker.
Thor, then Valor. Alright. So, Thor, as you go barreling down this side of the tunnel, I'm going to go ahead and put you there and the worm there. Just so you all understand, on the right side of this divide, it's not empty. This worm, parasite, whatever you want to call it, is just continuing all the way down this cave. And it just seems like an endless, giant, singular body. And so as you see it chasing Thor down, the light from his torch completely vanishing as this worm blocks out the entirety of that cave. You would see with the very, very dim light of Jarek's candle as he's kind of like holding it over Valorant's shoulder to like give you guys visual that the hard, stony, like pointed tip of the beast is not the same texture of what's going by. Now it's this kind of milky, white, slimy, I guess, wriggling body, almost a regular worm you would assume, is what is like a wall of flesh, is just continually passing you by as Thor disappears the other way, and that's what you're met with. And Decker, you would be going first, sir.
Okay. I would start out with my I'm all one unit here. There we go. Have Aurora try to distract it and with help. Does that work?
I'm gonna have to go with no. It's already kind of distracted. You're kind of already flanking it.
Yeah, you're like already.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then there we go.
Okay, that would hit. All right.
And then Booming Blade is 1d8.
Very good. Okay. Does Booming Blade apply to creatures of this size? Is there a size limit on that?
It doesn't work down here.
Oh,
Well, it must have, because my other magic spell message did.
I don't know.
I didn't even think about message.
I have a reasoning for it, but I don't know if I want to. Okay, yeah. So Booming Blade would not work.
Okay.
That will be explained, though. It's not just because I hate you.
Okay.
It's not only because.
Yeah. But so that's your turn. Run forward and strike it.
Yeah, did it feel like my strike was effective at all, or?
For the first time in many, many combats, as you race forward and dive your rapier into the flesh, you see it elegantly sink into this white, milky body, the whole blade disappearing as Thor, on the other side, you hear this gargled, scratchy, almost like scraping stone scream, this and its mouth opens up wider as it almost like lurches a little bit more forward towards you as you're like Scooby-Doo running, and Decker, you would feel yourself landing a decisive blow before wrenching the rapier out, otherwise it'd be torn away from your grasp.
All right, and that was a 1d8 plus 9. It was, I rolled it 2. I'd like to re-roll that with the
Okay.
pressure feat.
Go for it, sir.
I rolled another 2. All right, same thing. Never mind.
Okay. And then we were down to Jarek, which would be Thor.
Oh, right. Sorry. Forgot he wasn't here. So
Guys.
I imagine at some point he would have tested out, like, oh, maybe he wouldn't have. I don't know.
So
So,
if he did, which we can say that he did, the only either the item or spell that would work is the stuff regarding communication, message sending, the sending stone with Carl. Carl wouldn't be working at this point. That's something to point out, but that would be what he would gather.
So only messaging things work?
Yeah, like sending or messaging, or the actual messaging stone that Carl has in his head would work.
So would, like, vicious. I mean, I guess I'll just try the vicious mockery, because that's what I realize is one of his only damaging spells. Go ahead. It's a Wisdom save of 15 for the creature, if it even works.
It does work, and it fails.
And it takes 7 points of psychic damage. And it has disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn.
Okay.
And I believe... I think as a bonus action, he will... God, I'm going to need to keep track of this. He will use one of his bardic inspirations, and he'll be like, "Don't worry, Thor, you totally got this." And I will inspire myself.
You would hear a very muffled Jarek voice. Don't worry, Thor, you got this, as it tries to, like, find its way past the worm and the flesh and the mouth.
Now, instead of the Sling Blade guy, Jarek is being played by Gilbert Gottfried. May he rest in peace.
Listen.
And then I plunged my blade deep into his quivering flesh.
So, yes, Vicious Mockery would work, and the worm would react to it.
Okay. Then yeah, so it takes that damage, has disadvantage on its next attack.
Are you going to give us a quickly thought out Jarek insult for Vicious Mockery? You got to top him?
He'll go, "You're as slimy as my ex-wife."
Hey, there we go. All right. So that would then be Jarek's turn, and we're done with Thor.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to actually, like, see if I can square off with this thing and, like, hold it in place. So basically, like, well, one, bonus action rage, very important.
Okay.
And then I guess it'd be like a grapple check, but really I'm just trying to, like, halt its movement.
What is there is a size thing with grappling, but then there's a barbarian thing that changes that, right? You can't grapple things more than, like, one size above, but then with, like, barbarians or raging, I think that changes, correct?
I don't know. Yeah, so you count as one size larger when determining the weight you can push, drag, or lift. So I guess I'm technically a large creature when it comes to that.
I can't remember if grappling has.
It's called powerful build, but it doesn't say necessarily grappling, but it says you count as one size larger when determining
you can't grapple somebody 2 or more size categories larger than yourself. So if you're large, you can grapple huge and gigantic.
I don't know. Those are the categories above me, but
or when it says 2 or more. Oh, so 2 or more would mean you could only grapple huge and not gigantic.
Yeah, I guess.
So you would not be able to grapple this mechanically.
Okay. Gotcha.
You could try to stop it, but you wouldn't be grappling it.
Yeah, that's really what I meant. Like, it's like literally just trying to hold it in place. It's not like a grapple check. Yeah. Like, I'm okay if it still attacks me or whatever, but I'm just trying to, like, shove it.
Then go ahead and give me a athletics with advantage because you're raging, correct?
Yup.
Okay. Oh,
that's
That's it. Pack it up. I think he choked it out.
So Thor, as you are racing down this tunnel system, this worm hot on your heels, you hear Jarek's inspiring words muffling itself through the flesh. You whip around and kind of like feel your mass almost triple in your mind. You haven't changed in your size physically, but you have convinced yourself that you are this behemoth of a man. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can move you. You are stone. You are rock. You are in boulder school. As the mouth meets you, you lift up your hands and you basically catch one beak in either grip, and you're holding the mouth open wide as it begins to start pushing you. You feel your feet getting pushed back a few centimeters, a few inches, as your feet are digging into the stone. You don't stop it from moving, but for at least this round, you keep its mouth open, and you stop it from moving you 20 feet, it just moves you 5 feet.
Great.
But it
Awesome.
is incredibly difficult. Let me stress that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand the terms and conditions I signed up for.
But that is what you managed, sir.
That is all I need to do.
Okay, and then we are to Valoran.
So, what I would like to do is reverse my grip on my glaive and plant it like a flag in the side of the worm, and maybe even brace the other end of it against the wall of the space, such that if it moves, it is gutting itself on my glaive as I am holding it there, braced.
Okay. I'm gonna have you give me a dexterity check to see how well you can, like, finesse that positioning.
Okay.
And then give me a strength save to see how long you can kind of hold that. Okay. Okay.
Going low tonight.
Yeah. You don't have, like, a spare inspiration die, do you?
No.
Okay. So, Valoran, as you hear Thor's, like, incredibly loud exertion coming from his side of the tunnel, the worm's movement slowing ever so slightly as you're watching the flesh go by, Decker finally retrieving his blade from his strike, you, like, kneel down and get your glaive positioned, and it's kind of difficult with the dim light that you're working with. Jarek very desperately trying to hold this stubby candle above you as you're trying to, like, find a notch or a little, like, divot in the stone to dig your glaive into. As the flesh meets the tip of the glaive, you're not quite ready for, like, one of the lumps of its shape kind of like hits your shoulder, and you just get kind of sent wide, and the blade, like, loses its grip on where it's at, and you're trying to reattempt to put it back in place, but that would take your action.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. And then top of the round, so Thor, you would be moved 20 feet. Let me go ahead and reveal that, because I'm sure I'll have to. And then you are moved
Am I
5,
moved 20
10,
feet or
15, 20. You moved 5 feet last round.
Okay,
This
gotcha.
is the new round. Yeah. So you're moved 20 more feet. So you're moving back. Your companions probably don't know how far you are moving. And then we pick up on Decker's turn.
So am I running on top of its body right now or something?
No, you're just like, it's like a giant wall of flesh that's just passing by, like a metro subway station kind of thing. Like, you're just seeing the side of it going by as you're stabbing it.
Can I close back in on the head here, or is that...
No, like, this whole tunnel, that gray squiggly I made is like its flesh extending past you.
Okay, I got you. Is the glaive still stuck in it, or...
Valoran tried to, like, position it, but then it got, knocked out.
All right. I'll try and... So it's moving past, like, if I hit a piece of it, it's going to be gone in a second, right?
Yeah.
Shit. All right, I'll just try to hit it again.
Okay.
Right. So...
That does hit. And that would be 24?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anything else here?
Yeah, just see. Yep, no, that's it.
So almost like you're poking holes in a garden hose. As you pull your rapier out of the first wound, you see this quick like gush of liquid kind of spurting out before the hole that you made is like lost in its like the traveling pace of it. You jab your rapier in a second time and you puncture another hole, delving all the way down to your handguard before whipping your sword free so it doesn't take it along with it. And you again see a quick spurt of flesh, or I guess goo, shooting out the side before it trails into the cave next to you. And then we were down to Jarek.
So Jarek, probably, can he still do dissonant whispers? Like he can see the target. He can't see like.
Yeah, I imagine that works. That's fine.
Okay.
As long as you can like see part of the body, I imagine that works.
Okay. He will try to. Okay, I'm not gonna do that because that would be bad. I guess I'm just gonna vicious mockery again because I really don't want to dissonant whispers it. Because that causes it to retreat. So another DC 15.
It succeeds. So is that half damage?
I believe it's no,
Okay.
because it's a cantrip. So.
Okay. Yep. So it just doesn't take any damage and doesn't have the negative effect.
Yeah. And then he'll use second of 4 bardic inspirations to inspire Valoran. And just be like, come on, Valoran, you can do this. This is what you're good at. And I don't even need to do the vicious mockery because it doesn't even take effect.
And then Thor, be your turn, sir.
Yeah, so I guess since I'm already in melee range with it, and just to keep my rage up, I'll go ahead and attack it for the hell of it.
So you're not trying to stop it this time, you're just attacking it?
Yeah.
Okay. First one would hit.
And that's 15, if that even
Okay.
matters.
Well, yeah, as soon as you step back and kind of stop pushing it, drawing your weapon out, as you go to like raise to strike it, whatever awareness or sense this thing uses can identify that. And as you go to strike down, the beak slams shut and you just clang against the side of it.
Okay, gotcha. Then I'll just, keep yelling at it, Chase
Sit,
me, chase
stay,
me!
sit.
And, yeah. Badlorm, Badlorm, Badlorm! And I'll just keep at the tunnel. I'll
Okay.
just keep her there.
So we're down to Valorant, sir.
I'm gonna try one more time that same technique.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it!
You do have Bardic Inspiration.
What does that get? What's the dice?
8, yes.
Ah, titties.
Yeah.
So that's a 7. Valorant, as you... I'm assuming you, so I can get this right in my head. You're, getting on your knees, you're crouching down and kind of, putting it somewhere in the ground and then leveraging the blade to the worm. Is that the motion?
No, more like driving the blade into the worm and then trying to brace the back of it against, the ceiling or the wall.
Okay. So, as you rush up this time, feeling Jarek's influence behind you, and you try to angle the blade correctly, and you feel like you are just, again, with maybe the low light, or the franticness of it, or the movement of the flesh, it's somewhat difficult to place it. And as you feel that yet again you're going to fail this, you feel an extra pair of hands kind of trailing down your arms, from your elbows down your forearm, and then kind of weaving over the back of your hand and grabbing the glaive with you. And it feels lighter. Go ahead and re-roll your dex save. Or dex check. Alright. So as this second pair of hands, which if you look, they're invisible, just so that's very clear. There isn't just a
Actually,
Yeah. It grabs the glaive and like wrenches your hand in the correct spot, almost like a robot. You just jerk into the right positioning, and then you hold it firm. The blade of the glaive perfectly finding its place along the flesh, where the tension of it as it hits the incredibly sharp, well-maintained blade that we know Valorant probably has. You just see its flesh popping open, ripping open like a piece of paper stretched too far, and it's just continues its pace by you, and as it does, you are just basically dissecting a side of it, and as it opens up, it's almost like a floodgate of the goop that has been retained on the inside, so both you and Decker are washed with this disgusting bile of whatever the fuck was in this thing, but it doesn't matter. You are heroically standing there, basically just, I don't know, deli slicing this worm as it passes by, and that would be your turn.
All right.
And then, I guess, yeah, it's Valorant. So Thor, as you are striking at the beak, you feel its momentum still carrying you. You're going to be pushed another 5, 10, 15, 20 feet. I'm going to put you there. Let me go ahead and give you this. Okay. And then put it there. You feel it pushing you farther and farther as you're just kind of banging against the beak of it over and over, trying to get it to stop. Eventually, you feel its beak kind of shoot open, this loud, horrific scream kind of bellowing from its depths, and it throws you about 5 more feet away from it, just from the force of the like mouth opening up wide, and you're kind of put in this little puddle of water behind you, and it just begins like whipping around in the small spaces it has. Like you can see its head tries to like curl back to like double up on itself, but it's physically impossible. So it just starts banging against the cave walls, bam, 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 and then just tries to dive at you again. Its mouth like, I don't know, almost frantically kind of whipping open, its teeth kind of jutting out everywhere, and we'll pick up to Decker's turn at this point.
So, like, is there any room for Aurora to fly over, or is it
No,
just
it's completely sealed, yeah.
All right. I'm going to try to widen the gash where the blade's already splitting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to just see if I can kind of join in with Valorant and make the wound more catastrophic for
kind of
targeting
like
purposes.
digging the rapier in, and then just kind of like, I don't know, using like a lever and just ripping it wider.
Yeah, kind of like I just plunge it in and brace with my feet and just hold with both hands, kind of like how he has it braced up against the wall. I'm going to see if I can do the same thing since it's already split open, just to keep the sharp edge of it, help and slice.
All right. So, go ahead and just give me a general strength saving throw there then. So as Valorant finds his groove, pun intended, you stand in beside him, joining in on basically using a can opener on the side of this worm as it's passing by, its entire guts just spilling out. You are joined with your companion as this thing is just being absolutely gutted, and then we will hop over to Jarek.
Yep, same old trick for him. I realize why it's the same spells that I keep hearing him say. I'll just cast Vicious Mockery.
It succeeds.
Okay, doesn't take any damage. And then he'll inspire himself. I'm doing so great. Man, I just love myself. Not really. What am I doing here? And then he'll inspire himself, even though it doesn't really matter. That's pretty much all he can do.
Okay, and then Thor, back to your turn, sir.
Yep. So, kind of like those action scenes where two titans run at each other, I'm just gonna try to close that distance, run back, and shove it back further. I mean, I know I can't, but...
Go for it, sir. Athletics with advantage.
Yep. And Just let me know if I make it or not.
You are not
because
able to stop it this time. You want to use your Bardic Inspiration?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So as its head is whipping around and it seems to find its target again and begins diving at you like Captain Jack Sparrow running into the Kraken's mouth, you go racing forward again, clamping your hands on its beak as it tries to furiously kind of bite down on you. You hold it wide again, the veins in your arms jutting out like fucking what's the word I'm looking for? Leeches are just like sticking out of your skin at this point. You are able to again slow its momentum and stop it from biting at you, but you're not able to push it back.
I'll just kind of yell as loud as I can, just like, ah! Holding it there as much as I can.
So, Valorant, as we get to your turn, and you are splitting this thing open, you feel the hands that had helped you are already kind of beginning to recede as you are focusing in on just keeping the glaive where it's at. You hear noise coming from inside the worm, spilling out the opening that you are opening. You hear Thor's muffled scream traveling through the flesh and then releasing out of the opening that you are causing. As if you're going to continue doing what you're doing, give me a strength save. Alright, so you are still holding strong, just keeping it in that same position, making sure you aren't jostled or shoved away. Your companion Decker by your side, Jarek being useless as usual in the background, as the worm continues to just race by, opening up more and more bile. You're now up to like your knees in the inside of this thing as it just spills out. Clara kind of stepping very daintily back into the darkness as the small light from the candle doesn't give you all a lot of room to work with. And then we will pick up at the beginning of the turn, where it's going to move you 10 feet this time. So you're going to go 5, 10, and it's going to move there, and I'll go ahead and, because why not? You're still, I don't know how the hell you're holding a torch unless you're like holding it between your teeth, but we'll roll with that. And, alright. Back to Decker.
Is what I'm doing appear more effective than attacking it?
You are... The stabs you do with your rapier caused it to, like, exhale. Almost like a nose exhale from, like, a half-decent joke. What you are doing now is causing it to literally throw itself around frantically and panically. So you probably are doing more this way than your other way.
All right, then I'll just I'll try to keep doing what I'm doing then.
Give me that strength save then, sir. All right. Decker, how do you want to do this?
I'd like to, as I'm braced in, I would look over at Valoran, kind of like I'm nodding at him, like, yeah, I can do what you're doing too. And then at that moment, I slip and plunge into the worm, and just disappear in the guts of the worm, and then I just stab my way back out.
So, Valorant, as you are stood beside your companion and you are holding strong, watching this thing just spill its guts, literally, Decker gives you like one more suave look before he just slurps into this thing, just disappearing. And as you see the faint silhouette of his figure inside of the flesh and the goop, and you see the worm moving like 5 or 10 more feet, just before it appears that Decker's about to be lost like deeper into the cave, you just see the rapier just like just shooting out like a thimble and a sewing needle, just like frantically holes and holes and holes. And finally, as the front of the worm tries to pull itself forward and the serrated outline of the rapier holes grow more and more, the entire mass of the worm separates, tears itself apart, as Decker has now basically cut a perfect circular hole out of the center of it, and the back half loses all its momentum, just kind of sloshing to a stop as the front half trails for maybe another 5 or 10 feet, and then also loses its momentum and flops. Thor, as you are holding this thing back, being shoved into the water, a root kind of pressing into your spine, losing more and more space, as the maw is trying to again descend upon you, you feel its strength weakening as you hold it wider and wider and wider, and then eventually you feel all of its strength and all of its life just fade, and you kind of crack its jaw open from the other side as the thing just dies. And that's where we're going to end the session.